All right, in our last video, we were able to get a button to work, to do something. So we learned about button listeners. This one, we're going to learn about how to do key listeners. So if you press a key, you want to do something. Depending on what key you press, you want to do something. We're going to talk about key listeners. Almost the same process as before with the listener idea. So if we go into our ball panel class, let's see if we remember the 3 steps that it takes to add a listener or add something that has a listener. First, we declared the button there. Here we actually built the button. As soon as you build the button, we decided to attach a listener to it by saying the name of the button dot add action listener, and then we had to create an object of an inner class. So all listeners are inner classes. So this is a class that I wrote inside of this class. That's why it's called an inner class. If you remember, the add action listener method required us to pass us an action listener. Action listener is a class in Java, but it's an interface. So if we quickly jump to the Java right now, here's action listener. It's an interface. So we can't actually build an object of it. So we have to implement that interface when we write our own class that does it. So if we run back over here, all the way down here is where we added our inner class. This is the inner class. It's inside this curly brace right here. So, because that's the end of the outer class. Here's the inner class. We just name the inner class anything we want. I called it my action listener. It implements action listener. And all that means is if we implement an interface, we have to write the code for all the methods in that interface. Well, the only method in that interface was a method called action performed. We use the same signature that is on the API. And then all we did is this one line of code. And Java listens for this happening because we attached it to the button. So anytime an action is performed on that button, this method gets called for us, and it does it. So that's all the stuff we did before. Let's try to do the same thing again with a key. The difference with a key listener is we don't have to create the object because there's no object to create. The panel itself is the object that we want to listen for it happening. So we're just going to add a listener to this panel. So we can put this if we want. I'm just going to say add. Now it's not an action listener. It's a key listener. So we're going to say add key listener, and then we'll go to the API and we'll check out the key listener. So you should do the same thing, run to the API. I'm going to do a search, either Command F or key listener. That was a fun thing. Here's a key listener class right here. If I click on it, key listener is not a class, it's an interface very similar to the action listener one. Let's check out the methods of the interface. There's 3 of them. So that means if I use this interface, I would have to write a key press method, I would have to write a key release method, and I would have to write a key typed method. This is old Java. They used to always use the interfaces for this, and you would have to write the code for these 3 methods. However, they then realized that people didn't want to necessarily do all 3 of these methods. Maybe I only want to listen for one of these things happening, but an interface doesn't allow you to only override one. So they made other classes that are not an interface anymore, it's just a class, and then these methods have empty code in it. So we're going to quickly look for a different class called key adapter. All the adapter classes are like modifiers of the interfaces that were originally created. So we're going to look for the key adapter class. So if I look over here in the left, here's the key adapter class. And I'm going to look at the methods. Notice this is a class now, not an interface. Since it's a class, I don't have to implement the methods. The methods have already been written. So here are those same 3 methods, but they've been written. So if I don't like them, and they don't have any code in them, so all I'm going to do is override the one that I want, which is key press. I want to do, if I press a key, I want the ball to move. I only want the ball to move in the direction that I tell it to move, so I want to know when a key has been pressed. The difference between key pressed and key typed is down and up. Key pressed is just down. I know I'm going very fast, but we're going to try to write this method right here. So this is the one that we want to write. It's in the key adapter class, so I'm just going to copy that for now because I know I have to override it. We'll run back to BlueJ, and instead of saying add a key listener, we're going to say add a key adapter. Let's see if that works. Actually, I don't even know if it will work. In my own, yeah, it's not like it. So let's add key listener. But instead of adding a key listener, we're going to, instead of add key listener, we're going to create an object of the key adapter class. So just like here, we said add action listener and we pass an object of our class right here. We're going to go write another, anytime you add a listener, right in here, we're going to have to put an object of our class, but we got to go write a class. So I know there's an error there right now, but we're gonna run down here and write our own inner class. So we're gonna be outside that inner class, but still inside the outer class, and we're gonna do the same thing. Public class, we'll call this my key listener. However, this time instead of implementing an interface, which I could do, called key listener, I'm going to extend a class. And there was a class called key adapter. And the only beauty of this is now I don't have to write the code for all the methods. I only have to override the one I don't like, or that I want to. And that was the one that said key press. So I just copied that in there right now. It's a void method. Public void key pressed, key event E, has to have the same signature, start a curly brace, end a curly brace. Whatever I put in here is what it will do every time I press a key. But I now just made this inner class called my key listener. So I have to go up here where I added the listener and build an object of this class that I just wrote. So I'm going to say a new my key listener. And I didn't write a constructor for the class, so must be a default constructor. That's why I do that. So remember, every time you add a listener, you're adding an object of your class that you write, because you write the listeners as inner classes. So we did step 1 and step 2. There was no step 1 of building the object because we're adding it just to ourselves. And now we have to go write the class, which we did right here, but now we got to put in here what we want to do. So I'm going to say system.out.println hi, just to see if it says hi when I press a key. So we'll compile this. Hopefully it says we're great. It says no errors, so that's good. Again, you can pause this and rewind and do whatever you need to do to keep up. We'll compile it. Oops, didn't like that for some reason. Oh, there it was. A little slow. Run it. Here's my panel, and I'm going to click a key right now. Notice if I click a key, it must be the wrong one. This is not the one that I'm supposed to be running. Sorry. I thought we were in this one here. All right, I got to pause this and stop. All right, sorry about that. I was running the wrong ball panel class. It had way too much in it, so I've done it correctly now. So this is what yours should look like. We got the balls moving sideways. Maybe you got yours bouncing around. But if I click, I'm hoping I see the word hi show up to the screen. Now, if you are clicking, or not clicking, if you're hitting any key, I'm not clicking, I'm just typing a key. If I type any key on the keyboard, hi keeps showing up in the terminal window because I said print hi every time. So if I extend this, I'm going to hit a key now, and hi shows up. So it's recognizing, oh, actually, we got to click on the area. Notice I had to click on the pane for it to recognize that it was selected. Yours may not be working. If yours is not working, then you do have to put a set focusable in there. So if we go back into our code, there is this line of code right here. That means that the pane is focused on. So we added this listener, this key listener, but the key listener only listens if the frame or the panel that we are currently, because there could be 10 panels on the screen, the panel that we're currently on is focused on. So this method right here is inherited from JPanel because we're not using anything to call it. And it is making sure that we are focused on the ball panel. And hopefully that works for you. If not, I can look at it in class, but that should make it work. But now I don't always want to print hi to the screen. I want to know what key is being pressed. So if I want to know what key is being pressed, if you notice right here, key pressed, there's something called a key event that they called E. E is our remote control to the key event class. So if I run to the API and try to look for key event, actually I can just click on it right here, sorry. There's a key event right here. I can just click on it, it will take me right to it. Here's the key event class. I can look at all the methods in the key event class. There's a get key char, get key code, get key location, get key text. There's also, I'm going to use get key code because it says it returns an integer, and I want an integer associated with the key in this event just to see how this works. So I'm going to go use the get key code. So E is the name of the object, dot get key code was the name of the method. And let's see what this does. So E.get key code, go ahead and pause it if you need that. So we run back here and we run it now. Oops, wrong one. We run it now. And if I hit a key, it says a number associated with the key. So I want to use WASD maybe, or maybe I want to use the arrow keys. If I use arrow up, that's 38. Arrow down is 40. Arrow left is 37. Arrow right is 39. So I could write those down on a sheet of paper so I know what they are. I'm just going to move it down. So I'm gonna use actually WASD instead of the arrows. Those were the arrows. So if I hit W, it's 87, A is 65, D is 68, S is 83. So S. I wanna go down, and I'm just gonna do S for the video. You can do the rest of them. So I just learned that 83 is the key code for the S character on my keypad. So I'm gonna quickly run back in here, into my ball panel class, go down to my listener, and I'm gonna comment out this line of code because I don't need this anymore. But now that I have the key code, I wanna do something with it. I wanna say if e.getKeyCode is equal to, I think I said 83. Holy cow, I can't believe I just forgot. I think it was 83. Should have wrote it down. If the key code is 83, I want to move the ball down. And you're like, what do you mean move the ball down? Well, I actually have a whole bunch of balls that are drawn, but I have this one ball, B1, that wasn't part of this array. I am just going to draw that one. So I'm not going to let it move or bounce. I'm just going to draw that one once. So it's not moving or bouncing. So there'll be one ball that will not be moving when it shows up called B1. And that's the one I want to be able to control on my own. So B1 is the name of the object that I want to control. So I want to take B1 and do something with it. So B1 dot, I want to move it down. Well, I could do something to its Y value here, but then I have to write, I'd have to get its Y value somehow, be able to get its Y value. I'd have to write a method in the ball class that returns its Y value. But I'm just going to make a method called move down in the ball class that moves it down. So I'm going to run back to my ball class. I've already got the draw method, the move method, I already added a move down. So here's a nice little move down method that you may not have. And all it's do is adding 3 to the Y values. You could also do the speed of the Y. If you have a Y speed, you could do Y plus equals Y speed. But I made a move down method that returns nothing, accepts nothing, and all it does is move it down, which is adding something to its Y. So whatever its current Y is, add 3 to it. So I kind of like that. That's my move down method. So I'll run back to my ball panel class now, and I can now call that method that I just wrote. So B1.move down, and that means anytime I hit the key code of 83, which I think was the S, it should move down. And I'm still refreshing the screen all the time, but this one ball right here, B1, is not moving on its own. The rest of them are all moving on their own using this code inside this for loop. But I have this one ball that I created all by itself called B1, and maybe you don't have that ball anymore, but here's mine. It's not part of the array. It's just sitting out here out in space. It's the magenta ball. So let's see what this looks like. Let's compile this. Hopefully that says we're the best. And let's run it. And when we run it, there's that one ball not moving. If you see it right here, the ball not moving. If I hit a W, nothing happens. If I hit A, nothing happens. If I hit a D, nothing happens. If I hit an S, I'm hitting S and holding down S. It's moving down. I just let go of it. Hit S, move S. So I now have learned how to control it because I figured out how to use the key code. So again, those 3 steps, if you go back and look at it, is all we did was add the listener to the panel right here. But we do have to have this set focusable to make sure it's listening for us doing some sort of key stroke on the panel itself. And then we had to add this inner class right here. So we ran down here and add this inner class. The difference this time is we're extending a class instead of implementing an interface. If you look here, we implemented an interface and we had to write this method. If we extend a class, we inherit all the methods, but I decided to override the method anyways. The only advantage of it extending a class instead of implementing an interface is when I implement an interface, I must write all the code for all the methods that are there. When I extend a class, I can choose to override the methods that I want to override. And all the ones that say, adapter after them are the new versions of Java that allow you to extend instead of implement the listeners. All this code will be available online. We'll do it all in class. Hopefully that works out for you. There we go.